So welcome everyone to this new edition of Let's Talk News Business, our weekly event series of the Newmark Graduate School of Journalism, where we discuss business developments in news, revenue models, product, innovation management. My name is Anita Zielina. I'm the Director of Strategic Initiatives at the Newmark Journalism School. And I'm super excited today that we're going to be talking about the business case for news agencies and how that business case is changing through Corona, but also before Corona. I'm very happy to have two guests here who are some of the smartest innovators in that space and also friends. So I'm very glad to welcome them here. Jane Barrett. So Jane leads editorial strategy for the media business of Reuters. And Niddal Salah-Eldin is the deputy editor-in-chief of DPA, the German news agency, where she is responsible for product and innovation. Thank you both for being here.
Thank you for having us. Thank you, Anita.
Good to see you. So let's maybe get started with just some small housekeeping. If you have questions for our participants, we will have time for discussion. I'll drop them in our conversation. If you can just use the Q&A function to ask these questions, feel free to ask them during the whole conversation, and I'll make sure to include some of them towards the end of our event today. So let's maybe get started with a more kind of general question that I think both of you spend a lot of your time with thinking about and working on. How much is the business case for news agencies changing? How dramatic is that disruption? Niddal, do you want to kick us off?
Yes, I'm happy to kick us off. So I think the disruption that we are experiencing in the media industry, and I think everyone who is in this webinar is very well aware of what is happening, the massive disruption, of course, is also having an effect on the news agencies, on culture, on products, and of course, on our business case. And I think what we're experiencing, and of course, we want to talk about business today, that we have to really diversify our revenue sources. So what we're experiencing on the client side, that the one model doesn't work anymore, and that you need various sources of revenue and income is happening and is reflected in the news agency business as well. So we have to get really creative and really smart, think about new audience groups, new target groups, think about our users harder than we have in the past to invent new business models and new products.
Yeah, totally agree. And I think, just as news publishers do a lot of their audience engagement, and you're dealing with individuals on your audience engagement, so too news agencies are doing that at a B2B level. So we spend a lot of time speaking to our clients, hearing what the new strategies are, what their directions of travel are, the sort of pockets of great engagement that they're seeing, the areas where probably the interest has fallen off. And then it's incumbent on us to make sure that at the sort of the top of the funnel, as it were, we are putting the right stuff in. And that might be in terms of what we're covering, but also, as Niddal was saying, also the formats and how we're covering it. So, we've seen a big rise in audio, for example. So, what does an agency do to help our clients who are looking at investing in podcasts and in voice? So it's a lot of listening and working really hand in hand. It's very, that whole top down, throw it over the wall model of news agency is a thing very much of the past.
Absolutely.
Let's stay with that. Sorry, yeah, Niddal.
So absolutely, I can only second in what Jane said. So the thing is, you have to think about it in the way that we are a service provider, and our reason of being and our meaning is how can we help our clients? So we have to really look at the issues and the problems systematically that our clients are facing, the challenges they are facing. And the news agency is successful if it's able to detect the signals that are coming from the market very early and try to recognize patterns where we're seeing movements where we can develop answers that maybe some of the publishers are not even aware that they are facing, or issues that they're not aware that they're facing. So we have to be like the navigator for the industry. We have to be first and go forward and look what's out there, and then report back and tell them, okay, guys, this is what we're seeing. Let's discuss, and we have some options for you.
I mean, I completely agree with both of what you said, and you make it sound like that's kind of an easy and an easy path of transformation, but obviously we all know it isn't that easy in practice. And also what I think is worth mentioning is that, and obviously I'm oversimplifying here, but if you think about like the very old version of a news agency, you think about content that is produced, mostly written content, and is then distributed to the B2B partners, the media organizations that pay for some kind of subscription, and then they sometimes use it sometimes they edit it a lot, sometimes they just kind of copy paste it onto their web platforms or news sites. So I think that the kind of reputation of what a news agency does, I sometimes feel that we still see that old model as, oh, that's a news agency. They produce articles that can be copy pasted on online sites. How do you react to that when you get that reaction?
I'll take it first. I mean, I'm very proud of our heritage, so I'm not going to belittle what we've done in the past. I think it's great. If you look at our almost 170-year history, we have done a lot of getting facts from around the world and bringing them to clients around the world. And so being that connector piece has been such a fundamental part of what news agencies have been. And it's just a remarkable history, really, if you look at where we've come from. I think the big difference now is that in the digital world, that distribution model where you needed the connector, and the connector maybe was a news agency for that. In a distributed world, information is flowing in massive, great networks all the time. And so, therefore we then need to explain to people and move on the journey, as Niddal was saying, kind of lead the journey, but then also walk with people on the journey to this new and different place where we still stand on those really strong foundations of getting factual news from around the world to our clients, but that we are really keen to speak to them and to speak to others about the different things we're doing. So you said mostly text. Yes, we started off as text because we started off with pigeons, as many of you will know. Julius Reuters would put news onto the feet of pigeons and get them to fly around with the news. Well, nowadays, video is absolutely critical. We've had video in our stable for many, many years. Pictures, audio, verification services, I mean, everything that it sort of grows out into. The key thing is really to be meeting core needs of your clients. So we're not just doing, Niddal and I have spoken before about sort of the bright, shiny objects and just doing something for doing something's sake, and trying to, keep some innovation going, but really actually walking alongside with our clients to make sure that what we're producing is the stuff that they need. And I hope that as we do that, then that sort of more old-fashioned image of just factual information coming out is eroded. And I think the more we're providing that service to clients, so yes, some want to cut raw, whether it's video or text, into their own output, but others want us to have packaged it already. So we've had to modulate and modify what we do, and I think the clients have come along with us on that.
Yes, absolutely. And I think it's not a contradiction to be very proud of your legacy and your past and your history, as we're approaching our 71st birthday this year. We're very proud of the heritage of the German press agency. But at the same time, we want to be able to continue to offer all of the things that we offer for the future. So we think and we believe that it's our duty to really take innovation and the future seriously. It's not a game. It's not some sort of activity that we do to keep ourselves entertained. It's a really hard job, and we really try to figure it out for our customers. And the vision that I have for DPA, and I think we're in the midst of this journey, is to transform the company from a traditional service provider of journalism in all shapes and forms to a digital service provider of content, so journalism in all shapes or forms, and services, tools, and technology. So we're not talking about a substitution. It's like layers that we're adding on top. The core business will be the core business. And this is why people trust the brand DPA, and they trust the independent news agency. But we want to be very smart in our strategy to add on top of that and build new modules, new segments and units that are very on brand at the same time, but are answers to new use cases that we haven't had in the past. So this is sort of the strategy that we're following.
Mm-hmm. Jane, can you say a few words about Reuters' strategy and how that relates?
Yeah, absolutely. So we've taken a very much a platform strategy over the last sort of 2-3 years. We launched Reuters Connect a couple of years ago, really as an answer to this question of who are our clients and what do they need, and what do they need moment by moment. And so that has required various different changes internally in terms of what Reuters produces, but also it means that we're now thinking about Reuters as, you know, that critical partner for our clients. And there are oftentimes, even with 2,500 journalists, that we can't provide absolutely everything. You know, there's a finite amount of time and space that we can fill. So over the last year, we've been adding other partners to the Connect platform. So it really becomes much more of a platform play. So, you know, we talk about the agency of agencies. So we have, in fact, DPA as one of our good partners on Connect, whereby we can pool together other people's content as well as our own and make it available to our client base. And then also really working with our clients to understand what their needs are. So there'll be some big networks who just want as much information as quickly as possible. You know, they might want to buy what we call the all-you-can-eat models. So anything that gets produced gets delivered to them at high speed, probably into their own systems. But we're aware that there are whole other sort of groups of clients, media and non-media, who might want to come in and just buy, you know, one piece of content or buy a pack of content for a quarter. So we've created our own points system within Connect. So therefore clients can come in and go as pay as you go or pay on contract. So again, it's about building flexibility into the very heart of what we do, whether it's flexibility and agility in what we produce or flexibility and agility in the way that we serve our clients.
And I think that's so important, Jane, what you just described, because this concept, if you want to understand the future of news agencies, is something that is really, really crucial. The platform, the ecosystem concept, this is something that we've also been focusing on in the past years, because we understand that in this digital world that we live in, customers sometimes become suppliers, then they become partners, and they can switch roles. And this is something that you can really, if you observe this, you can find a product answer for that if you build a marketplace. So this is one of the key concepts of the DPA strategy. Jane has described some of the ideas behind Connect, and the same thing goes for DPA as a big international agency, that we are building an ecosystem where we're offering our own products and services and our own content. And at the same time, we are opening the marketplace to other service providers, to third-party platforms, to third-party partners that have interesting offerings for our customers. And I think this is it's really a big paradigm shift that we're experiencing. So to make it as concrete as possible, what we have developed is a single sign-on. I think everybody knows this from Google, everybody that's in this room, how convenient and user-friendly single sign-on applications are. So we've built the DPA ID, and you can imagine it as a key to the house of content, services, and tools. And everyone who works professionally with news or communication can use this tool and can comfortably switch between the DPA news service, can switch over to sports data, can switch over to some monitoring services, and then, for instance, can switch over to a third-party tool that offers political insight briefings or offers text-to-speech technology. So everything is in this central platform, and we've launched a partner program that invites others who work professionally in this space to be a part of it. And I think this really is the key concept for the future of news agencies. Open up the ecosystem and make it user-friendly.
Part of what you're saying is that also that it means that you have to move to something of an audience-centric mindset and a product-centric mindset in a news agency. And frankly, we all know the reality that all media organizations, including news agencies, are still, kind of in the middle of that transformation. We know that 10 years ago, audience centricity and product thinking was nothing that was very, predominant in traditional and legacy organizations. How are you installing audience centricity and product thinking in your organization?
It's critical. I mean, if you don't, then you die. So I think if you look back, so I started working in this sort of area about 4 years ago. And if I think back to 4 years ago and to now, to where we are now, it's night and day. It really is. I think 4 years ago, the digital transformation was happening sort of out there for a lot of people. Because we weren't sort of suffering from some of the really critical issues that have been hitting digital media really kind of directly in the solar plexus, we were able to slightly leave it on a shelf. It wasn't a conscious decision to leave it on the shelf. It just wasn't a sort of existential worry for us. And over these last few years, I think we have just got so much better at listening to what's happening in the media industry, but specifically listening to what's happening with our clients. And I think, we've got clients from the very most digitally minded, rich, doing well companies to very small companies that are trying to find their way digitally, that are still advertising dependent, who need help doing that. So the really critical thing that I found as I started doing this work was you have to speak and listen to a really broad variety of your clients. You have to be super plugged in to not just the big names and the ones who suck the oxygen out of the air, but you have to go along and be close to those who are struggling, who are needing your help, as Niddal was saying earlier, who need your help to navigate them through this system. And the more that gets fed back into the newsroom, into the commercial part of the business, into product, then the more we kind of almost feel that we're on a joint mission. And I think that's really been the big change in terms of the culture change that we've seen over the last few years, is that I think we all feel now that we're on a mission, that journalism is under threat, that we are part of that we need to play our role in it. But that if we do it thinking that we have all the answers and that we're sort of sitting there in our ivory tower and thinking, well, we come from Reuters, we've got a long history, then we'll be dead. Nothing is there for certain. So I think we've come to the point, actually, even though it's been painful sometimes to get people to understand really what's happening out there, I think now I look back, I'm like, gosh, we've come so far. Like, we really are listening so much to what people need, what's happening, where the pain points are for our clients and then for their audiences as well. And I think making that connection, not just for the clients, but for their audiences, is the really critical bit. If people don't want to read 700-word stories anymore, they only want to read either live blogs or listen to it on audio. I'm not saying that's happening, but if that's what we're doing, then we have to be humble enough to say, okay, well, we really like the 700-word story, but we're going to have to ditch it. And I think painful though that is, people are getting now used to so much more change that they're starting to understand we don't change things on a whim. We change them because that's the way that the market is going, and that's where the demand is.
Yes, and I think what we all have to consider, that this is another paradigm shift that is happening. So if you work in a news agency, we have this image of the two hills. You look out of your window or your balcony, and there are two hills. The first hill, those are your clients, the ones that are paying for your services, the ones that are sitting in the newsrooms throughout the world paying for your services. And it's also not only media clients, but also business and governance clients. These are growing segments in our business. So you have to find a way and find the tools to really break down change and what is happening out there with this group that is sitting on this hill, and keeping in mind the second hill that's behind it. And those are the readers, the viewers, the users of our clients. And our challenge is we have to serve both of them. We have to look out on the second hill, but we have to make sure the first hill is happy. And what you asked about product thinking, this is so important to me. And this is something that my team and I, that we're really preaching in the organization. It has a lot to do with tools and methods to make it concrete. So what we're doing, to give you examples, is, for instance, to develop products in a co-creation mode. Instead of us sitting in our room, having these funny little Post-its and deciding what we think the world needs out there, we have really established this process where we do labs with our users. We meet them, we meet our clients, and we try to find a very, very clear format and a clear design on how we want to explore the questions that we have. So it's not only about talking to this person and talking to that person, but having a systemic approach to it. So that is the one thing. Co-create your products with your audience to make sure that there's a product market fit. Because the worst thing that can happen is that you think, oh, I like this podcast, or I like this TV show, and I'm the leader, and I'm going to decide, we're going to do a big bet on this. This is not an informed decision. And we really have to make informed and database decisions. So co-creation and using the methods of agile product development is really, really important. And doing systematic user research, having constant feedback loops really, really helps you. And I think this is not only true for news agencies, this is true for all media companies. And we need more people in media companies that are able to do the switch in perspectives. Not only look out of your window, but also imagine yourself on one of those hills, looking at the news agency. This is really going to be one of the core skills for the future, the shift in perspectives. And this holds true for product development, innovation. It holds true for editorial as well. Don't make your decision just based on your own taste. Doesn't work like that.
Yeah, Jane.
I think I do as well. So, great, as you say, so getting that product market fit. What I found as well that really has helped within our teams is also to make sure that the teams understand each other's goals, so that we have a common goal towards things. I think, I look back, I think the three of us were chatting about 18 months ago, or was it 2 years ago in Berlin, about bridge roles. So somebody like me who has kind of 1 foot in editorial and 1 foot in the commercial side, and kind of being that bridge. And I'm delighted that now there are so many more bridges and tunnels, between the two, and that we're working together to understand what the product fit needs to be and what the content fit needs to be as well. And I think the more that we have, it's really important that people crack on with the work that they need to do. Don't spend all the time just chatting amongst ourselves. But if we have a common goal and we understand, all of us, like what we're doing and why we're doing it, then all the better. And I think that's really helped us also to speed up some stuff and get some things to market much faster than we would have done in the past. But also being happy to get something out and then to iterate it, rather than, I think, 10, 15 years ago, you'd have wanted something to be perfect in its beautiful box with a nice bow before you put it out to market. And I think now, as you say, that sort of agile product thinking has infiltrated a lot more of the company and our ways of thinking, so that we're okay if it's not perfect. Let's just get something going and then we can build on it.
I mean, we I think all agree on the 2 points that both of you just made, Niddal saying, well, just because you're the boss and want to create a product doesn't mean that there is a market for that product, or that it's a smart idea to create a product. And then also the path that leads us away from perfectionism, pivoting to a more agile product development. And that's just two of the really fundamental, I think, cultural transformations that are happening in media organizations and media agencies right now. Now, we all know that I'm sure you have plenty of colleagues who are completely on board with these changes, but we all know realistically that all of us have also plenty of colleagues who are not so excited about sharing power, are not so excited about listening to users, are not so excited about agile development or collaboration. How are you as leaders dealing with this resistance? What is your kind of secret sauce of driving that transformation as leaders?
So I think one of our biggest jobs and the most important jobs is explaining the why behind this. I think sometimes if you're dealing with people who might not be experts in product development or might not be experts in digital distribution, they just have this gap in understanding, but why are we doing this? And I think our job is to really explain and to stick to the example. We talked about product thinking, to really, really convey the message that product development has become much more complex than it has been in the past, where there were only newspapers or TV or radio, and that we need an understanding of product that combines the layer of content, that includes the layer of packaging and distribution, and has a holistic approach to what a product actually is. And that explains why we need people other than classical journalists that can work on the other layers. So we have great journalists. This will be the core of our business. DPA is an independent press news agency. This will always be the core of our business, but we need new people that bring new skills. When we talk about data, when we talk about data-informed working, we talk about digital distribution, we talk about agile product development, all of these are new things that are coming. And I think that might help to explain why this transformation is happening. And at the same time, you asked about secret sauce. I really like to excite people, to get people excited about the future, instead of having everyone be fearful and scared and dread what's coming next. So it's good that we, as we're sitting here and as we're discussing and as we're tweeting about the future of journalism, that we really have a strategy and an idea how we can move forward to the next level. And it's much more fun to create than having things be decided for you, So there's no option. You can't opt out of the future. You have to create it. And I think it's really about maybe not wasting too much time on people who are trying to prevent or trying to, or being stubborn and are resisting change and progress. And I think it's much more fruitful to get everyone excited and empower those who are willing to create the future with you. And it's really, I try to make the point that complaining about the future, it's not a strategy. It's not gonna get you anywhere. So let's get things started and hop on board, and don't waste your time too much on those who are trying to sabotage innovation.
Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, getting people to understand why you're doing things is absolutely critical. I think, in the 21st century, we get bombarded by emails. If you work for a big company, you then get bombarded by corporate emails. And what I've realized is that if you think you've said it 20 times, say it 20 more. If you feel that you've communicated why we're doing something and how people can get involved, then even if you think you're being so boring because you said the same thing time and time and time again, there's probably still somebody who's only about to hear it for the first time, or really understand it and take it on board for the first time. And I think kind of getting that why through, you don't know where the seed has been planted. I've had the experience over these last 3 months of being in lockdown, where people who I had put in the totally intransigent bucket, and I'd kind of basically thought, I'm not going to waste too much more time on that, because you know, it's just a bit of a headache and it's turning me grey. A couple of people from that bucket were suddenly getting in touch and showing me things that they had done. And do you remember when you were talking about this? Can you have a look at this piece that we've just done? Tell me what you think. And so I was delighted. I thought, oh my gosh, you know, all of the sowing of the seeds, you have to just keep doing it diligently. It's part of being a leader in the changing world. You know, yeah. Don't write somebody off until you really have to write them off, you know, but keep the innovative pods going. You know, we've had a couple of great examples of little teams that have gone off and created something or started a new format in a really agile little way. And what you find is that, yeah, they are natural people. They're the early adopters. They're the ones who want to get involved, which is fantastic. So you kind of give them all of the wind in their sails that you want to, and get out of the way, you know, let them do what they're going to do. But what you find is that eventually word gets out, and eventually, you know, people start to want to come into the slipstream. Yeah. And if you've translates to it, then it means that you've actually sold the why sort of well enough.
Absolutely. And the thing is, what we can do as leaders is empower and reward this type of behavior instead of trying to tone it down and dim it. So that's really the thing. So to really convey the message, if you don't design the future, it will be designed for you, and get people excited and get people into the mindset of collaborating, experimenting, and giving them the feeling that this is that we're cheering them on in this, and that we're empowering and elevating them. And I think another thing when we talk about communication, which is so important for cultural change, is the ability to translate. This is something I thought about a lot, because I think this is like the red line that, or the glue that holds everything together. And if you're a product person, you tend to have a knack for that, because translation requires you to observe and to understand the user. And we're not talking about the user that is out there. We're talking about the user or your colleague that sits in front of you. So the switch in perspectives here, again, is very important, and understanding the user. And I thought about why this is an important topic for me. Maybe I can just share a small story. In a weird way, my background has helped me in trying to translate, because that's a job that I've been doing my whole life. I started doing that since I was a kid, translating Germany to my parents who didn't understand what was going on, trying to read official letters from the government or from some office, explaining that to my parents, and finding imagery, finding language that is easily digestible. And I think this has helped. In kindergarten, I got into kindergarten in Germany, and I was quiet for 2 months. Nobody heard me speak. And then after 2 months, I started speaking German. So that was a funny thing my kindergarten teacher told me some time ago. And I started connecting the dots. And I think there's some parallels in there that you have to understand, listen, and find vocabulary and imagery that works with your audience.
That's a fantastic story. Thanks for sharing that, Niddal. I'd like to move to some. We received quite a few questions. Let's see how many we can get through. One I found particularly interesting, and that I'd love both of you to answer, is if you're expanding your team, like the question of talent, what people are you looking for when you're expanding your team?
Depends which team. But if I focus really on, so I sit within editorial and work very closely with our product and our sales and biz dev sides. I'm really looking for people who are now sort of multi-talented. So, you know, it's rare now that we will hire somebody who just does one output. So just writes, or just shoots video, or just does data. I'm now looking for people who are very ambidextrous, certainly across words and visuals, but also, like, you know, if we're looking at data journalism and graphics, then I'm looking for somebody with really excellent storytelling ability. So yes, the ability to get their heads around lots and lots of numbers and how data can tell a story, but then also the ability to tell that story. I think I look back at, when I joined Reuters, I was fascinated in visuals, but I was definitely a writer. And I learned the visual side over, with very generous colleagues over the course of my time growing as a journalist. I think now the bar is a lot higher for people coming in. I want them to be able to do a lot more.
Mm.
That's on the editorial side. I'll let Niddal answer for the product side, maybe.
Yeah, so when I think about where we're at in summer 2020, there's so many new products we're developing. We're offering text-to-speech technology. We're offering exclusive podcast production. We're often offering data products. We're currently working on a couple of different editorial and also business data products. So from that, you can sort of understand that the people you need in order to work for these or to help launch these products, they need a different skill set. So what I'm particularly interested in is people who work at the intersection of technology and editorial, who have a deep understanding of what it takes to actually build a product. It's a different skill set than the classical editorial journalist. And I'm interested in finding people who have different perspectives. That is actually very important for me. I'm talking about diversity in terms of heritage. I'm talking diversity in terms of mindset. We need people that challenge the status quo. I'm very interested in finding people that are asking the right questions. And that's sometimes in legacy organizations, there's this maybe traditional way of doing things. And it's always a bit hard and uncomfortable if you have someone who asks, but why are we doing this? Or why are we still doing this? And why are we doing that? But the only way for us to progress and to be successful in the future is if we challenge ourselves. And you need a specific or particular personality. It doesn't have to be a loud personality. Sometimes the quietest people are those who can challenge the most. Those are the people that will make you aware of blind spots, that will make you aware of missing links, that might have the crucial idea that will get you to the next level. And I think it's so important that we don't always hire the same people with the same CVs. You can basically just change the names and you will find the same type of personality. And that is maybe something, maybe it's something personal as well. I like the underdogs. I like the people that had to fight for things, that had to really be hungry to achieve what they want to achieve. And this is, I think, something we need to add in the mix. You're not going to get anywhere if you have this conformity in your staff and in your leadership. So that's a topic that's very near and dear to my heart.
Thanks. We have some questions about the diversification of revenue models, and I'm rephrasing them a little, and maybe with a short answer. Can you give me just some things where you feel like these are things that are promising areas where we want to expand, areas where we see, potential growth in our business, just some products or audiences or approaches?
Just go first, Niddal.
Yeah, Jane, you can start.
Okay. I think we're always looking out for new revenue streams, for new clients. So I think you've seen a lot of agencies now with more government clients and more corporate clients, and then also kind of the tech companies who need our help. Verification services that we're doing with Facebook, some of the training that we're doing around manipulated media. I think what we've realized in the last few years is that journalists have skills that are needed by many groups. They might not need the output that we currently produce, but they need our skills and our capabilities that will produce a different output for them. So again, it's being flexible and really thinking about what are the capabilities that we have, not just what are the products that we already have. Mm-hmm. And so therefore you can find lots of different new revenue streams by taking it back one step from just the output that you're putting out.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And for us at the German Press Agency, there are a couple of things that where we see growing potential. And We see fantastic new benchmarks in turnover and in profit. For instance, when we talk about custom production of content, so not the one size fits all, but more the more tailored approach. This is something we're doing in audio right now, and we're doing it for all different kinds of customers, also from the governance section and business section. So producing content that is tailored. It's a very big thing for us. We also have growing business with the digital platforms. We are seeing massive growth in verification services that we're offering. That is very, very important also to our brand, that we are leading verification for the German media landscape. And then also there's a subsidiary at DPA. It's called News Aktuell. It's a press release distribution service, and they're very successful, growing, and they help communication clients reach relevance and impact. And this is all something that is happening under the DPA roof. And in terms of product, there are a couple of other things where we think about filtering what we're offering. So you can imagine the buffet that we have. It's content in all shapes or form. And there's media intelligence products that we've launched some time ago that are very successful, where it's about curating what's in the buffet, where you offer something that where people can use individual news filters, people that don't care about the global news, but they have a niche that they want to get informed about. So I think in this logic, there are many things that we've been experiencing that are really helping us also in terms of revenue.
Last question from Nick Newman, who asks what role news agencies can play in audio, considering that your clients are getting more and more excited about audio, whether that's podcasts or short form. Any thoughts on that?
Yes. Yeah, we just launched earlier this month Reuters Audio. After, again, speaking to clients a lot and understanding what they need. And we've kind of split it up into two buckets, really. So the raw audio, so we've got audio going back about 100 years that's taken off of our video, that the podcast producers, audio producers can download and use. So it's great for either natural sound from old stories, or old speeches and clips of people speaking from last week, but then also back to sort of early 1900s, which we believe is a really important role. I think particularly we've seen with the rise of the Black Lives Matter movement again recently, the importance of putting things in context. And so if we have this wonderful archive, rich archive of context that people can dip into to get the original sound and to put it into their podcast, I think that it brings it alive that much better. Mm-hmm. And then we've also got the Reuters Ready piece, which is, as Niddal was saying, DPA is doing the same thing, but sort of voiced pieces that can be used by our clients. Also goes out onto sort of Amazon Alexa, into Google Home and the like. So we're playing on both sides of it. So the ready published and then the raw as well.
Yeah, so and for DPA, there's a strategy I developed some time ago that has 3 pillars. The first pillar is producing podcast or on-demand audio for our clients. This is something we're doing for one of the biggest German media companies, Pro7 Sat.1. They've launched a podcast platform called FIO, and we are producing podcasts for them in a Netflix logic, which is a new business for us. We're producing not only singular episodes, but entire seasons of audio content. So this is one of our innovations that's been going very successful. I actually just had a call with them earlier today. So this is the first pillar. From idea to execution, we offer you a full service. The second pillar is offering units and modules of audio for those who don't want the whole thing from us, but who do want sound bites, who do want ready to publish news, who do want press conference and so on. And this is what we're building currently. It's called the Audio Hub, where all of these modules are available for you to use in your own audio production. This is the second big topic. And the third topic, and I think this is where it gets interesting at the intersection of content and technology. And the third pillar, we're offering easy access to technology. So everyone who thinks about oh, I would love to do some text to speech, but I don't have a voice engineer. I don't have a product manager for this. We have integrated a service into our marketplace and ecosystem where you can do that with one single line of code. You can decide to audify your entire website. You can decide to audify your newsletters. You can decide to create skills for Alexa or for Google Home to create offerings or briefings there. And this is basically the hand-in-hand, the ambidextrous approach for content and for technology.
Fantastic. Thank you for that animated and great and wise words and great discussion. Thank you everyone for being with us and asking so many questions. We are at the end of our time today. We are gonna have another Let's Talk News Business event next Wednesday, again at 11 a.m. ET, where I'm gonna talk with Jenny Choi, who runs DEI, Diversity, Equity, Inclusion Initiatives at the Newmark J-School, and Sherelle Dorsey of The Plug about diversifying media ownership and media entrepreneurship. So I'd love to see some of you again next week. And thank you very much for being here with us.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye,
thank
everyone.
you, Jane. It was great talking to you. And
as ever.
yeah.
Bye.
Have a great day, everyone. Bye.